Can everybody see me and hear me? Okay, good. So what we're going to do is, we're going to do the full Seder demonstration, including preparation of the Seder plate. All this is going to be done in a very natural, as you do it, as you would do at home. So first of all, we come home from shul. Immediately, this year, we're already home from shul. We daven at home. First thing you want to do is arrange the Seder plate. The Seder plate has two parts, the matzah, and then the items on the kaira. Let's start with the matzah. We want to get 3 whole matzahs. So we take 3 matzahs, and the first matzah goes on the bottom, and that matzah is called the Yisrael. So the first matzah goes in the matzah case right here. Then we take a second matzah, and that goes inside on top of that one. Our custom is to keep them separated, so the matzahs are actually not touching. And the third matzah we put on top is the Kohen, that's a top matzah. 3 matzahs, one on top of the other, all set to go. Then we want to set up the actual Seder plate itself. There are 6 items. Top right is the neck of a chicken, called a zroa. Our custom at Chabad is to remove all the meat off the chicken neck and remove all the basically roasted meat, all the stuff. I don't have a chicken neck, but I took a chicken bone, and my daughter Sima cleaned up all the chicken from it. So we'll use that for tonight. Then on the top left, we put an egg. The top right, the zroa represents the Karban Pesach, the Paschal sacrifice. Top left, the egg represents a hard-boiled egg. We leave the shell on. That represents the Karban Chagiga, the holiday sacrifice. And the fun is, we'll see as the evening goes on how things should not roll off. And if they roll off, we chase after it. Okay. Then we have the next item would be the maror. That would be in the center. The maror, we're going to use today romaine lettuce at the actual Seder. You want to use romaine lettuce, and you want to use actual shredded horseradish, which is chazeres, maror, the bitter herbs itself. And you should use an ounce, both together. It should be an ounce of maror and meaning the bitter herbs and the romaine lettuce together should equal 1 ounce. Then on the right side, we have the charoset. This is going to be used to dip in the maror and the korach sandwich. Our custom is that you take the nut mixture with the nuts, pears, and apples. Right before the Seder, we add a tiny bit of wine. This is done as you're making the Seder plate. Add a tiny bit of wine and mix it together. At Chabad, as we'll see, we're very careful not to make what's called gebrux. Any matzah should get wet, so you want to make sure it's not too soggy. Put a little bit on the napkin. Again, this whole napkin thing is the Chabad way of doing it. You can use plastic cups as well, whatever you like. And finally, on the left side of the, not finally, but left side, we use some onion. This will be the karpas, and it must be less than 1 ounce. Oops. Yep. And we put that right here. And now finally, we have the second batch of maror, which is going to be used for the korach sandwich. Now with all this is set up here, precariously on your plate, this is the Seder plate that you want to have ready. So you have the chicken bone, you use the neck instead of this bone, use the egg, charoset, the maror, and the maror, the romaine lettuce, and later we'll add, of course, for Passover, we'll use the actual bitter herbs with the romaine lettuce and the karpas. Okay, other items you'll have on the table for later, of course, the salt water, the wine for the 4 cups of wine. So we come now to the first cup of wine. Everybody fills up their cup of wine for the first cup. This is not just, it's not just the one leading the Seder. Everyone fills up. There's a custom to use silver if you have, but glass is fine, any cup is fine. When we fill up the first cup of wine, as we'll do for all 4 cups, you want to fill it till the top. You want to fill the wine till the very top. It can spill over too. It doesn't make matter. It doesn't, but it should fill up till the top. We're using, there's 2 general haggadahs that we use, either the Gutnik Haggadah. I'm going to use tonight the Kahas edition, which is the Kiddush. You go to the Kiddush. This year, because it's not Shabbos, the Kiddush actually is a little shorter. And go to the Kiddush. We're going to start from Savri Rana. We ask everyone to participate. And now, 2 things to note, very important. At the Seder, because it's before Pesach, it's before Passover, I will not be making any actual blessings that we use with God's name. I'll say God's name for a blessing on the wine, but not for places where it's not necessary. But more importantly, there's a Chabad custom not to have matzah 30 days before Passover, as we are just about a week away to a week of the Seder. I am not going to actually eat any of the matzah. I will pretend to be eating the show, but no matzah will be eaten because this close to Pesach, our custom is not to eat matzah. So the candles are lit already. If it was the actual Seder, you'd see the wife or the mother or the daughters light the holiday, the Passover candles. We are ready for the first cup of wine. Everyone's ready. Gather around the table. Good Yontif. We're going to start the Seder. Good Yontif. Pick it up. Whenever we make a Kiddush cup or any of the 4 cups, you always pick it up with your right hand, unless you're a lefty, and you pick it up with the other right hand. You put it in your weaker hand and then place it in the palm of your right hand. Always about 9 to 15 inches off the table. It's called 3 tfachim. We'll do the Kiddush. Savri Ranan, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei Pri Hagafen.
Amen.
Now, you usually do the whole entire Kiddush. I didn't read the whole Kiddush, but the whole Kiddush gets read. And you lean to your left when you drink the first cup of wine. As you will all 4 cups of wine, you lean to your left. When you drink the 4 cups of wine, try and drink the entire cup or most of it in one shot. I'll have some fun drinking, most of the wine here, but try and drink most of the cup, and that applies to everybody, not just the one leading the Seder, everyone. You can't have wine for some reason, use grape juice, but you must drink the 4 full cups of wine. Okay, after we're done with the first cup of wine, we're moving along. Next thing we do is we go and wash our hands. So we're going to go wash our hands, and I am going to go out of the room, wash my hands. When I come back, I will not make a blessing as the washing of the hands. I will
send you the link.
Someone have a question?
The link, okay?
And
Bye.
Okay, so I'm going to go wash my hands. And
Are we on mute? Just put us on mute.
okay, now that I washed it, we're going to take the salt water. Now, when we make the blessing on the karpas, so the custom is you can use either some raw onion or some cooked potato or some parsley or some celery. There are many, many customs. The Chabad custom is either the potato or the onion. We do not lean for this part of the Seder because this is not a happy freedom part. This is more focusing on the exile, the bitter slavery. So we take less than an ounce, less than a kazayas. You're going to make a hadama. When you make the blessing bar pri hadama, you want to have in mind the morah both in the morah by itself and the matzah morah sandwich. So we're going to dip some in. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hadama. Tastes terrible. Oh, glad that's done. Okay, now we come to what is the trickiest part of the whole Seder, believe it or not, especially as a Chabad custom, and that is what's called yachatz. We did kadesh, we did orchatz, karpas, dipping with karpas, and we can take this off the Seder plate if you want. We don't need that anymore. And we go to yachatz. Yachatz is we take the middle matzah, we're going to break it in half. The larger half we're going to put away for the afikoman, and the smaller half goes back inside between the 2 matzahs. That becomes the focus of the rest of the Seder. All of the Haggadah is said over that broken matzah. Here's the trick. We want to break the middle matzah. I want to break it while it's inside between the other 2. So we reach inside. We have the middle matzah. Now, sometimes things go flying off. Whoop, there went the eggie. And we break it in half. Then we check which is the bigger half. I think it's pretty clear. So I'm going to put this down for a second. I'm going to put this back inside between the 2. And I'm going to leave that throughout the rest of the Seder. It's going to be very accessible. We'll explain to you in a moment. And then we take this middle matzah, the bigger part, we break it into 5 pieces, hopefully successfully. 1, oops, that was a small one. 2, 3. So we have now 4 pieces and 1 more. Oops, 5. Okay. So we have 5 pieces of now my sima kamer, thank you. And now we're going to wrap this up and hide the afikoman. Some people have a custom to steal the afikoman, and that's done to keep the children interested and excited for the evening. The Chabad custom is we don't encourage the children to steal it. We don't want to use that word. Instead, we say whoever stays up for the afikoman will get a prize. Now I'm going to take it. I'm just going to put the matzah away just till later, the afikoman. I'm going to come back here, getting ready for the next part of the Seder. We come now to the longest part of the Seder called Magid. But before we start Magid, we're going to say one prayer. But here's the important thing. You see, if you look at the Seder plate, I want to bring the camera here 1 second. This broken matzah here is going to constantly be covered and uncovered. Whenever it says cover the matzah, we cover this broken matzah. When it says uncover, we uncover that broken matzah. That is the key. I like to set it up where it's sort of accessible to cover and uncover. That's the middle matzah. Okay. So now we come along to the Magid, and we turn the page here. And again, we say now the Hey Lach Ma'anya. The Chabad custom is not to say Ha, but Hey. We say the Hey Lach Ma'anya, Diacholu Avasana, Ba'ara de Mitzrayim, Kel de Chvin, Yesev Yechel, Kel de Tzrich, Yesev Yifsach, Hashata Hacha, Lashana Habab, Ara de Yisrael, Hashata Avdin, Lashana Habab and Echore, which basically we're inviting all of us to participate fully in the Passover experience, to be engaged and to be inspired and to fully experience the Passover experience. Before we ask the 4 questions, we're going to go now, we're going to cover the middle matzah, a little broken piece, and we're going to fill the second cup of wine. We fill the second cup before we ask the 4 questions, and we're going to have this cup that we're going to go straight through the entire Haggadah. And now we're going to begin, and the custom is that the youngest at the table asks the 4 questions first. Do we have any volunteers? Oh, my daughter, Sima. Sima, would you like to ask the 4 questions? Let's hear you start. Go. And so on and so forth. Excellent. So she would ask the 4 questions. The Chabad custom is we ask first about the dipping, then about the matzah, then about the moror, then about the leaning. Others ask first about the matzah. We focus on the dipping primarily because it's a custom, and the customs are the whole focus of the holiday. The Jewish people went out of Egypt in memory and in honor of the fact that we didn't change our customs. Sima, awesome. You can get the prize today. And don't go too far. We still need your help. Okay. Now that we add the children ask the 4 questions, the custom then is that everyone asks the 4 questions. We're all God's children. So after the children ask the 4 questions, we all join in together and say, Ma, Nishtana, Halayla, Hazemik, etc. We ask the 4 questions, all of us together, and that's the 4 questions. When that is over, a lot of times you wonder, so what's the answer? The answer are the next words in the Haggadah. Avadim hayinu leFaro b'Mitzrayim. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. Before we say Avadim hayinu, we uncover that broken matzah. So we're going to make it available to be seen. We'll say the Haggadah on the broken matzah, and then we say Avadim hayinu. We talk about the story of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shu and Eliezer ben Azariah and Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon who were in Bnei Brak, and we go through the various stories in the Haggadah. We talk about the 4 sons. We talk about the wise son and the wicked son, the simple son, the one doesn't know what to ask. And we go through all the different descriptions of the Haggadahs describing the Exodus. One of the highlights is V'hi She'amda. At V'hi She'amda, the custom is that we cover the matzah when we get to V'hi She'amda, and we lift up the cup of wine. And with the cup of wine lifted up, and again, the Chabad custom is whenever we hold the wine to hold it in the palm of our hand, and we say, or we sing, V'hi she'amda lavoseinu v'lonu. And we say the V'hi she'amda prayer, reminding ourselves that the covenant that God made with Abraham, or is it the cup of wine that represents the Jewish people's special place and being different and unique, or it talks about the Torah. Either way, it's this that kept us protected against that in every generation that rose up those who try and destroy us, and yet we survived. God always saves us. God always saves the Jewish people. Unfortunately, sometimes not everyone makes it, but as a whole, God will always protect the Jewish people. Then after that, we uncover the matzah again, and now we continue describing how the Jewish people came down to Egypt after the story of Lavan describes in detail the difficulty of the Jewish people throughout the slavery. And this is the bulk of the Haggadah where you can discuss some ideas. And you don't want to talk too much now because you have the whole meal, but you want to go through some of the Haggadah describing the verses, how the Jewish people were born 6 at a time and how the Egyptians try and abuse us and persecute us. And the more they persecute us, the more we thrived and survived. And it goes through until it describes the actual plagues. When we come to the plague, you do something very unique, Sima. Oh, excellent. This girl's good. When we come to the plagues, we have a thing. Even though the Egyptians were very cruel to us, and they deserved to be punished, and they deserved to get all the plagues that came their way, we're not happy. Our cup isn't full. Because why should anyone have to suffer? We'd be much happier if the Egyptians didn't persecute us. God wouldn't have to bring the 10 plagues. We'd be much happier. So we're actually going to pour off 16 drops of wine. 3 for expressions of the destruction, 10 for the plagues, and 3 for the acronym of the plagues. And each one we pour off a drop of wine. Some have a custom of dipping a finger and taking a drop off because there's a finger of God. Our custom is not to put our finger in the wine because it's sort of not respectful to the wine. We instead pour off. And we say first, Dam, Ve'esh, Siris Ashtan. And then we say the 10 plagues, Dam, Tzvardeya, Kinim, Aro, Dever, Shrin, Barad, Arba, Chayshech, Makas, Bechoros. And because there's an argument, what was the order of the 10 plagues, if it follows the order in the Chumash or in the Tehillim, so then we have Rabbi Yehuda who says the order in an acronym, putting them in the right order, and we say the Tzach, Adash, Bi'achav. This wine is considered to be a very unfortunate type of wine representing the plagues. This is poured down the drain or outside, not in the place you want to save it. We immediately refill the second cup of wine to conclude the reading of the Haggadah. And we fill it again to the top. And, ooh, yummy. Okay, and we continue reading, describing the plagues. How many plagues were there? Were there this many? Were there that many? Were there 250? And the reason we want to mention how many plagues there were, God said that I will never put upon the Jewish people those plagues I put on the Egyptians. So we're making the list as big as possible to get all the stuff out of the way. Then we come to the children's favorite song, Ilu, Ilu, Hotziyanu, Hotziyanu, Mimitzrayim, Dayenu. If God would take us out of Egypt and not have punished the Egyptians, that would be enough. If he had punished them but not destroyed their gods, that would be enough. And we go through, and all those are enough reasons to thank God. And then we see how much more so that God did all these things and eventually took us out through the desert, brought us the manna from heaven, took us to Mount Sinai, and brought us to Israel to build a temple. How thankful we should be. Then we come to a very important statement in the Haggadah. And that is, Rabbi Gamaliel says, you must say these 3 words, and we're careful to all the children say it. And the 3 words are Pesach, Matzah, and Morer. We always make sure all the children say Pesach, Matzah, Morer. And then we say, what are they? Pesach, that's the Paschal sacrifice. The Matzah, you want to hold the matzahs, specifically the top 2 matzahs. And you want to say, Matzah, Zush, this is the matzah that we eat, etc., because our forefathers baked matzah and didn't have a chance to rise when we left Egypt. Then we put our hands on the moror, we say moror, and what this is for, and we read the part about the moror. And then we come to the blessing on the Haggadah, the blessing of the going out of Egypt. And this is a beautiful part. At this point, we cover the broken matzah, and we lift up the cup, and we're going to hold the cup in our hand to the first paragraph. Etc. And after the first paragraph, we put the cup down. And then we read to ourselves the first couple paragraphs of the Hallel. Then we pick up the cup, and we're going to read the final blessing of the saying of the Haggadah. And after we say it, we say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher ge'olonu v'golos avoseinu mitzrayim, etc., etc. And then again, we make the second cup of wine. We say the blessing again. I won't say God's name this time. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Barei Peri Hagafen. And again, this part I do. And we drink the second cup of wine. I in general recommend not to use too strong of a wine, but to use a wine that you enjoy, because it's a mitzvah to enjoy the mitzvah of drinking the wine. In general, if all things being equal, best to use a red wine. If the wine that you have that you enjoy better or is more valuable or more special is white, take a white wine. But if there's no difference to you, the preference always is red. Now that we finished the second cup of wine, most of the reading of the Haggadah is done. Now we come to the big mitzvah of the day, the mitzvah of eating the matzah. It's a biblical obligation, and we're going to move aside the cup of wine. We're not going to use this for a while, till after, of course, the meal. And we can put this a little bit to the side and get ready. Now, here's the thing. At the Seder, if you could plan it in such a way that you don't have to speak, it's best not to speak from when you wash for the hamotzi until after you eat the korach sandwich. That means we're going to do three things now. We're going to eat the hamotzi, the matzah. We're going to eat the moror, and we're going to have the matzah and moror sandwich together. Best not to speak. If you have to speak, it should be only things like someone needs a matzah, someone needs a moror, but to sit and chat, you shouldn't, because technically speaking, just like you shouldn't talk from when you wash for bread until you finish eating the hamotzi, we don't know which is the actual mitzvah of eating the matzah and moror separate, the matzah and moror together. Therefore, we treat them all like that's the main thing, and we shouldn't talk till it's done. Also, if you're leading a Seder and you have family members with you, there's not going to be enough matzah on your Seder plate and enough more on your Seder plate for everybody. So we do in our house is we set up a table on the side. Actually, before the Seder, we give each person a Ziploc bag with the right measurements of each of the moror and the matzah that they need. And when it comes time, they have all their stuff ready to go. No need to get their own stuff and start looking. The only thing we do is, because as we'll see, it's a mitzvah to eat the matzah from the actual certain top, middle, and bottom matzah. So when I do the hamotzi, I'll give each family member from the appropriate matzah a small piece to mix in to their matzah. What does that mean? So when you make the hamotzi, how much matzah do you have to have tonight? When you're eating the Seder, how much matzah should you eat? So the mitzvah really is have one serving, one kazayas, 1 ounce of matzah. That means approximately half of a matzah. That's approximately how much you should have. But there are a few different eatings of matzah tonight, and each one has a different amount or different matzah that should be used. So for the first matzah, some people say you should have it from the top matzah, some say from the middle matzah. So what we do is we take a kazayas, 1 ounce of the top matzah, 1 ounce of the middle matzah. If that's not enough, we add some more. And for the first kazayas, the first serving, we're going to have 2 kazayasim, 2 zaysim, or 2 half matzahs. That's a lot. If you can't do that much, just have 1 ounce. That's 1/2 of a matzah if you can't eat that much matzah. For the korach sandwich, that comes from the bottom matzah. Again, it has to be 1 ounce. That's a half a matzah to make the sandwich. When we get to the afikoman at the end, we're going to talk about if you should have 1 or 2 ounces, depending on the opinion, if the matzah today symbolizes the lamb or it symbolizes the matzah that was eaten at the afikoman, and that will depend if you have 1 or 2 servings of matzah. So the maximum you should have is 5 servings, 5 ounces. The minimum that you should have tonight is 1 ounce minimum. And when you eat it, it shouldn't be eaten over like a half an hour. In 5 minutes or less, eat that serving. Otherwise, it's not counted as 1 serving. It's counted as gnashing and nibbling, like you're eating popcorn. That you shouldn't have unless you're starving. Okay, so we're going to go wash our hands for hamotzi. This time you make a blessing and we do not speak. Alrighty, Sima, I'm going to wash now. I didn't really wash, of course, because I'm not going to have matzah, but I'm doing the ceremony. Okay, for the first blessing of hamotzi, you have to have 2 whole matzahs. Because the middle matzah is only a half, you want for the first blessing to hold all 3 matzahs. So you're going to grab all 3 matzahs and say, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Then you let go of the bottom matzah, you hold the top 2, and now the blessing is going to be Asher Kedishanu, like you do in any mitzvah. And we say, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, Asher Kedishanu, b'mitzvosa v'tzivanu al achilas matzah. And we're going to take half of the top matzah. Then we went our matzah again. And that's about half, a little bit less than half. Then we're going to take this. Now, this is not enough of a kazayis if I wanted to rely on that. So I'd have to add some matzah from there. Plus, I want to give pieces of this to all members of the family. Now, I'm going to lean to my left, and we line the matzah up together so we can actually eat, like at the same time, the top and the middle matzah. And without speaking, we're going to go crunch, 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 crunch. Now, obviously, because of all the concerns of health, this matzah will not be used by anybody now. Maybe I'll have it on Passover because it's so close to my mouth. But just the idea, I'm not eating it because it's close to Passover, but we eat now the 2 kazaisim, or at least 1 serving, 1 matzah. And if only 1, take from the middle matzah. So we sit quietly and eat that matzah. Okay, let's put this aside. This matzah is eaten and done. Again, try and do a half of matzah for a serving. And if you could, do 2 servings, 2 half matzahs. Then we go to the mitzvah of having the maror. And again, in this case, you want to have the maror and the horseradish. I didn't have it with me, so I'm just using the romaine lettuce. We put the romaine lettuce and the horseradish together. We dip it into here, and for this we do not lean. We do not lean at all, and we say the bracha Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Al Achilat Maror, and we eat. And theoretically, I could eat it now, but I'm just gonna leave it for the side. And we eat the serving of maror, not leaning, and we have one serving of maror eaten. Okay. Then we go to, when that's done, we go to the korach sandwich. The korach sandwich you take from the bottom matzah, you go back to the bottom of the Seder plate, and we're slowly using things up here. And again, we take a half a matzah. Oh, that's a very generous half. And we take this and make it into the sandwich, and we put the maror into the middle of the sandwich, and we're going to dip that into the korach. This we will lean, we eat it, and we'll say the section called Kain Asa Hillel, and it's found, you look on the next page, it describes how Hillel would have the sandwich, the time of the temple, he would take the Pesach, that means the Paschal sacrifice lamb, and the matzah and the maror, and eat it all as a sandwich together, and we'd go crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh, yummy. Of course, no talking. And we eat the korach sandwich leaning to one side. And when this is done, you're already starting to get full. You're starting to get a belly full of matzah and maror. And that is the korach sandwich. Okay, making progress here. After we're done with that, we're coming now to the actual meal. Before we eat the meal, there's a custom to take the hard-boiled egg, actually eat it, and dip it into the salt water. So basically, we take a hard-boiled egg, we peel off the shells. No need for a second blessing. We take all the shells off. And in this year, especially more than other years, I would recommend every person have their own salt water. You take it, you dip it into the salt water, and I'm just going to make a shahakal now, but during the meal, you wouldn't have to. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehakol nihiyah v'roi. Delicious egg and salt water. When that's done, that officially ends the work of the Seder ceremony, and now we go to the meal. During the meal, the Chabad custom is to be very careful not to mix any matzah with any liquids, because we avoid what's called gebrux. So we'll be very, very careful the entire meal for that. So we actually take the cup of wine out of the way, and we'll move the matzah out of the way, and we'll have now the fish course, and we'll have the soup, and we'll have a chicken or some beef or some other meat. We have a delicious meal. Then we have also like dessert, something to wash everything down. When you had a whole meal and you already had everything, now comes the afikoman. The afikoman, as you mentioned, and the meal, by the way, can be like a regular, beautiful holiday meal where you talk and you schmooze and you could sip wine if you want. Between the second and third cup, you get as much wine as you like. I would take it easy. It's a long night, but go ahead and enjoy it. And you go and enjoy the time together, and you say words of Torah, etc. Maybe stories for the kids. Then we come to the afikoman. The afikoman, again, it's very important to eat this leaning to your left side. At the times of the temple, it would be actual lamb and the matzah and the maror together. Today, we have just matzah. The Chabad custom is to have 2 servings of the matzah. That means you take 2 half matzahs. So it would be back from the original afikoman. We give everyone a piece of the afikoman, and then we add to it to make sure we have a full 2 ounces, which equals 1 entire matzah. Again, we lean to one side. The custom is we don't talk during the afikoman because it's a special time, and we eat the afikoman matzah. And again, at this point, it's getting a little more difficult to eat it. We've had quite a bit of matzah into our system. This is the end of the matzah, and we're ready now to do the grace after meals, the benching. Before we do something very special, and we fill up, oops, if I can reach that, the cup of Elijah. The cup of Elijah is filled up. I'm not going to fill it right now, but we fill up the cup of Elijah. Everyone has a fancy cup. That is filled before the benching, and then we fill up the 3rd cup of wine that is used for the benching, and the actual 3rd cup of wine we fill to the top again. All the way to the top, we refill the wine, and we do the benching. When benching is done, we, well, let's go through, if you have a community of people that not more than 3, they're on both sides of the benching, we go through the whole benching ceremony. Our custom is to hold a cup of wine in our hand for the first 3 blessings. We put it down after the 3rd blessing of Bonei Barach L'Shalayim Amen, and then we drink the 3rd cup of wine. Again, we say a blessing again. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Baruch pri hagafen. We lean and we drink the 3rd cup of wine. Now we fill the 4th cup of wine. The cup of Elijah was filled already. We fill the 4th cup of wine, and we come to a very interesting thing called Shvei Chamascha. We're going to open the door for Elijah. And the door to Elijah is a time, a special opportunity for prayer. This year, there's a lot to pray for. But the Rebbe's of Chabad always said, ask smart. Ask for the things that your family really needs. Don't think of the small stuff like materialistic pursuits. Think big. The door's open. Elijah comes in, and it's a special time. We ask 2 people to walk to the door and carry candles, unless it's Shabbos. So usually we'd ask, let's say, in this case, I would take my daughter Sima and her sister, each one take a candle. You walk to the door, and you want to open all doors to the outside. So you wait until the people they give you the signal that the doors are opened, and we say, Baruch haba, which means welcome to Elijah. And we all call out together, Shvei Chamascha Lagayim Asher Le'yaducha, V'yalam Lach Zerushuch Le'karo. We read the Shvei Chamascha, and after it's done, it's a great time again to ask for prayers of people who need health. Someone needs a blessing, ask for Mashiach to come, and it's a great time. And then we put down the candles back on the table, and we put the cup of wines back here. And now we go to the last parts of prayers. It's the rest of Hallel and some other songs of praise to Hashem that we sing. After we finish saying all the praise, and we complete reading these extra chapters of Hallel, we come to the very end, the 4th cup of wine. And again, we lift it up and we say, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, Borei pri hagafen. And again, for the 4th cup, we lean to the left. Getting good. Review the 4th cup of wine. Right after that, we say a quick benching on this cup of wine. And then we have what's called the prayer for next year. And we all call out together, L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem. That doesn't mean next year. Mashiach should come now. And that way, automatically, next year will be in Jerusalem. Then Chabad has a beautiful custom. Of course, we dance a little bit. What's the beautiful custom? That everyone sits around and we take the cup of Elijah and we pour the cup of Elijah, and we use a funnel in our house. That's how it works. And we pour the cup of Elijah back into the bottle. It's like a special blessing to have this wine back. And we sing the traditional song, Keliyata v'yodeka. And we pour the wine from the cup of Elijah back into the bottle. And with this concludes the Seder. And of course, the Chabad, we never say it concludes, because the Seder goes all year long. A lot of people sit now and talk. You want to make sure you're done the first night of the Seder, at least the Afikoman, by approximately 12:51, 12:52, because that's midnight. The second night, we're not so particular, but the first night, try and be done by 12:51 or 12:52. This, my friends, is a small demonstration. Hopefully, we did it correctly, of how the Seder should be conducted at your home if you're making a Seder at home. May God bless us all to be healthy and to be well. Have a happy and kosher Passover. And please, please make sure for your Seder you use actual round handmade shmur matzah. Very important, especially for good health. Thank you.